do it like different, you can tell me, and then we're finishing.
No, I actually, Mario, I'll only introduce my colleagues.
Okay.
And I'll leave you do the rest. So
okay.
If you can take control of the questions, and also at the end thank everyone. That would be very good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be reading the questions to all of you, to Lubaba, to Richard, and to Laura, no?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to start with the background and with the music. Renata, ¿me puedes ayudar con música de fondo y el background, por favor?
Sí.
Vamos a quitarle la presentación en estos momentos para que podamos poner nuestro fondo, ¿vale?
Adelante, adelante.
Ok, damos accesos, por favor. Muy buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a las actividades en el marco del Primer Festival Internacional de la Facultad de Contaduría y Administración. En esta tarde, continuando con nuestras conferencias preparadas y gracias a la conexión con UNAM Canadá, presento a Gerardo Familiar Ferrer, secretario técnico de la UNAM Canadá y amigo de la facultad. Adelante, Gerardo.
Thank you very much, Mario. That's a very good and accurate presentation. We have a very good collaboration with the Facultad de Contaduría y Administración. And I would like to start by thanking the authorities from UNAM and from the Facultad for this invitation and this opportunity of sharing our insights around this very interesting topic that we are going to present today. I'll just very briefly mention that today our main guests are, first of all, Laura Martinez, UNAM Canada's English Department Coordinator, and then also two of our most dearest and best prepared English teachers, I would say, Lubaba Nusrat Khalil and Richard Thompson. So without further ado, I'll just share the floor with my colleagues, and thank you again for being here. Please make sure, and this is for all our dear students at the Facultad, make sure you have a lot of questions for us at the end. We'll make sure we have enough time to answer your questions. And for those of you who haven't had the opportunity or the chance of traveling to Canada, we hope that once travel restrictions are lifted, we will be able to actually share with you this wonderful space that you can see on my background, which is the extension school that UNAM has here in Canada in the Ottawa-Gatineau area. So thank you again for being here. And without anything else to add, the floor is yours, Lubaba.
Thank you, Jerry. Gerardo, as you guys can see, I hope you can all hear us clearly. So we are really glad that you guys joined us today. Welcome everyone for the, so I would request one thing to my colleague. Sorry. There. So for this session, I am the moderator. I'm Lubaba, as Jerry just mentioned. My name is Lubaba Nusrat Khalil. I'm originally from Bangladesh, and I came here 8 years ago, and I call Canada my home now. I would request my colleagues, Richard and Laura, to briefly introduce themselves for our audience, if you don't mind, please.
Okay, Laura, would you like to go ahead first?
All right, thank you, Richard. So my name is Laura. I'm the academic coordinator here at the Department of English for UNAM Canada. I've been a teacher for many, many years, and I've helped lots and lots of students realize their dreams and like further their academic or professional lives through English and just speaking this beautiful language. So thank you very much for being here with us, everyone.
Thank you, Laura.
And my name is Richard. I'm simply an English language teacher and have been for 19 years, I think I counted the last time. And for over half that time, I've been associated with UNAM. That doesn't mean I've been working for them full time, but periodically I've had contracts with UNAM in various programs. So very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you, Laura and Richard. Without further delay, I want to jump into our questions that we have for Richard and Laura, and I hope this helps our audience. My first question is to you, Richard. Can you please tell our audience about Canada in a nutshell?
Sure. Well, in a nutshell, Canada is a country like any other. I don't mean that there's nothing special about Canada. Of course there is, but it's like every other country. Every country has things that are special about it, and so does Canada. One thing that's influenced our development is the size of our territory. It's huge, though the population is actually less than a third of Mexico's. And that's partly put in context if you know that most of us live within 50 miles of the US border. It's just a little cold if you go further up. And we have, not surprisingly, since we're so like Mexico, we're very close to the US, we have a lot of cultural influence from the US. We get their English language shows through our media, and the government tries to mitigate that a bit. They ask our channels to play Canadian content, but still a lot of influence comes from the US airwaves. Now, that doesn't mean we're exactly the same. We have a reputation for being more reserved than the Americans, and that's probably true. One thing is, if you think about it, there's a kind of national mythology around the US. It's symbols. I like to use the comparison of the eagle. You know, it's the eagle. It's the animal that does the one bird that doesn't fear the storm. So it has this kind of brave sound about it. In Canada, it's the beaver, you know, and Canada's not nearly as big on these very powerful sounding symbols or national heroes. And very often we wouldn't even agree on who are our national heroes. In terms of Canadian people, I think most Canadian people are good people. They try to do the right thing most of the time. Sometimes collectively, we have messed up badly. And one of the very sad things we've learned recently is that some of the rumors we had about our Indigenous people and their experience with the schools that our ancestors put them in were just absolutely horrible through, you know, neglect and disease and various causes. An awful lot of children died in those schools, and it was just absolutely horrible. And it's really a national shame. We have to own it in order to move forward. But there's a lot of good about Canada too. I don't want to end on that sad note.
That was really comprehensive, Richard. Thank you so much for a very clear picture. I hope, like, when the students are more curious, they will all, of course, learn more, or our audience get to learn more about Canada. But this is a good introduction. I will ask Laura, because my next question is to Laura. How would you share your first impression when you first came to Canada? What was your first impression about this country? Because I know you're from Colombia. So please share your first impression with our audience, please. Laura.
Of course. Well, my first impression was this was a very organized country. Like, as soon as you land in one of the airports, you can see how organized it is. And obviously, you have to take into account like the population in Canada. And if you compare it to Colombia's population or Mexico's population, well, yes, I think it's easier to organize only like 40 million people than to organize more than that. Yes, of course, that's understandable. It was also very clean. Like, I could see clean streets, like everything was pristine. It was amazing. Like, I come from a very big city in Colombia, from Bogota, the capital. Well, it was shocking to see how cities as big as Toronto could be clean and very nice looking. In regard to people, I thought like all Canadians were very helpful, extremely polite. Like, you really see how polite they are. So talking to them was very nice, and they make everyone feel very welcome. So once you're here, you feel part of the country. You're always welcome everywhere you go. If you get lost, many people will just stop and ask you, like, are you okay? Do you need help? So that's a very nice thing. Also, in regard maybe to tolerance, Canadian people seem to have like higher tolerance toward many things, many different things. We have LGBTQ people, we have different races, we have multicultural backgrounds, international students, international like workers. We have different people that make up Canada, and they are always like around. You cannot say Canada is just this type of people or this type of people. It's just a mix of everything, and everyone contributes a little bit towards making this a great country. There's also a variety of languages and customs that you will be experiencing, since everyone mostly comes from different backgrounds and cultures. It's very easy when you're like walking on the street just to hear 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different languages at the same time. And you're like, whoa. So I heard some Spanish, I heard some French, I heard some English, but I'm also listening to Arabic, to Indian languages, to maybe Greek, Portuguese, German. So you'll be just bombarded with so many different languages and things around you. So it's a great opportunity also to learn about different cultures, I guess. And since then, I think my opinion hasn't changed. Every day I discover something new, something I like a little bit more about Canada. Of course, it's not a perfect place. No place is perfect. It has its own difficulties and issues. But the good thing is together, I think we can work toward improving and like trying to right these wrongs, as Richard was mentioning. Like we need to start somewhere.
Thank you, Laura. Very eloquently put. I wouldn't have been able to say it better myself. And coming from Bangladesh, that was definitely a similar experience. And one thing I just want to add is sometimes because I come across a lot of Latino people, I know sometimes we may find ourselves to be pretty loud in Canada. So that's one thing I noticed. I was one of the loudest one. I still am. So yes, that's one thing I just wanted to add before we move to the next question. And my next question is to Richard and Laura both. What should someone expect to face when they come to Canada as an international student? I know many in our audience is probably like interested to come here. So could you please tell our audience, Richard and Laura, maybe first Richard and then Laura, what should someone expect to face when they come here as an international student?
Sure. Well, maybe on the lighter side, but very true. I've already referred to the cold. We have long, cold, sometimes very cold winters. It's not just a cliche. So if you're coming here, for a long period of time, including a winter, bring warm clothes or enough money to buy some. Also, probably related to that, because of our growing season, some of my Mexican students who came to UNAM Canada have told me that the fruit is pretty bad here. They've told me that they have trouble getting fruit that tastes anything like as good as they can get in Mexico. So I don't know. It's what I've lived with all my life. Anyway, also a little more serious, international students that I've met more at Carleton University here in Ottawa have told me that Canada to them was a surprisingly bureaucratic country. Now, I'm not sure exactly if this is true relative to other countries or if it's just until you get to know our system. As Laura was saying, I mean, Canada is a pretty organized place, and I think that bureaucracy to some extent is necessary for that. So anyway, that's just what I've been told. That people have a little bit of trouble at first negotiating the bureaucracy. On the other hand, at a college or university, if you're at a college or a university, you're going to find you have amazing access to some resources like healthcare, okay? And in fact, I would say stay with the campus healthcare for as much as you can, because if you go to the emergency room in a regular hospital, you might want to bring a long book with you because our wait times can be pretty long. Our healthcare system is not perfect. We're trying to fix it, but the wait times are one of the biggest issues. But on campus, the good news, on campus, you'll have really privileged access to good healthcare resources. And I think ultimately, probably the most important thing when you go looking at what it says culture and experiences here on the slide, probably the most important thing when you go abroad is the people you meet. And I think that you'd find that Canadians are, as Laura said, mostly open-minded people, open-hearted too, if you give us a little time. Okay, I think there's a little bit of cultural shyness in Canadians, and it's not because they don't want to talk with other people or let other people in. It's because they don't want to intrude on other people. It's part of our culture. So as long as you kind of encourage people enough and say, yeah, no, I really want to talk to you, you'll find that we have some very good-hearted people here.
Thank you, Richard. Laura, would you like to add some things?
Yep. So some of my international students, mostly from Latin America, have said that, as Richard said, when they are approaching Canadians, sometimes there's like this, they seem kind of reserved, but after a while, they warm up to everyone, and they're always happy to learn more about new cultures, especially Latin American cultures. They really like it here. Like anything related to music, to dancing, like salsa music and other types of tropical music, they love that. And you will hear reggaeton everywhere. So they're always trying to learn more about Latin American cultures, and tons of students here want to learn Spanish so they can actually travel to countries like Mexico and either spend some time because they don't like the cold winters, or because they just want to visit and want to have a good time. So you will get tons of questions, different people asking you about where you live, like your customs, if what they have seen on TV or movies is real, things like that. So it is a great opportunity to share your culture and to like really tell them about your experience. So Mexican students are usually very open when talking about their culture, so that's very good. And Canadians love it. So take the time to meet some people, to like get yourself out there and just start talking.
Thank you, Laura. I think this, Richard and Laura, I think you gave our audience a very clear snapshot of what to expect and how it is when it comes to the country and the people and the culture. But I think our audience will benefit a little if you can tell specifically how to prepare for their studies and living in Canada. Because most of our audience are students and future students, in case some of them are interested. To be a good student in Canada, what do they do? Richard?
Okay, yeah, all right. So to be a good student in Canada, what I would say that the most important thing, the single most important thing is, as Laura said, we're kind of organized. And so one of the most important things is following instructions. And one of the things, even Canadian students sometimes find when they go to an academics institution, is that, it's all laid out. It's all laid out in the syllabus, which is a document that you'll get on the first day of your class usually.
And before they come here as a student, what are the types of preparation would you suggest our students can prepare ahead of times? Before even coming to Canada, what are some preparations we can take as an international student?
Okay.
Maybe well, Laura, if
right.
you have any points.
Of course. So it is very important that you have an outline of your plans and like organize yourselves. Think about everything and anything. You have to make a plan and be very responsible. You're going to be treated as an adult, so you won't be asked by professors do you have any trouble with your homework? Do you need more time? No, you need to take charge of your education. And also, obviously, part of this planning is where you will stay, where you will be studying. And the most important thing, and I think we'll talk about that later, is really take charge of your education. And I'm talking about your language ability. Like you cannot actually succeed in the Canadian context in an English-speaking university or college if you don't speak the language. That is like a key point. I cannot really stress it enough. You need to be prepared.
Thank you, Laura. We will definitely elaborate more on that point. Those are important points made. As Laura said, prepare ahead of time, and like you have to know the course you're coming to, and you have to familiarize yourself with your setting and also the course before you even decide that you're applying, even way before application, I would say. Because when I came here, I prepared for a year or two just researching on what I could study. So this is a simple advice on the side for those who's interested. We will move on to more specific scenario. For example, in a classroom setting, my first question is to Richard. If you could please paint a brief picture of our Canadian classroom for our audience, please, Richard.
Absolutely. Now, it depends a lot on your level, what the classroom is going to be like in Canada. So for undergraduate degrees, like bachelor's, and to some extent, even master's level, you'll find that many of the classes are quite what I'd call teacher-fronted. Okay, so the teacher, the instructor is bringing information in the form of slides, handouts, just a lecture, what they say, and also gives exercises, activities for people to do, often in groups. Students, their job in these types of classes at the undergraduate or master's level is mainly to prepare for class, doing readings and so forth, as directed by the instructor. As I've said, instructions are so important, and participate during sessions as they're asked to. Now, the undergraduate and graduate classes, it depends a little bit on the field you're in, but the classes can be quite large. Okay. Now, at the doctoral level, when you if you come and you're planning to do your advanced degree here in Canada, then it's much more learner-centered. They expect you to be showing that you can function more independently. So learners share a lot of information about their largely independent projects. And the teachers, the instructors, act a little bit more as facilitators, making sure that things don't get bogged down and that everything is well organized. And students in that scenario, at that higher level, are expected to encourage, but also critique each other's work. And that can be a challenge if you come from a culture where you're supposed to be a little more polite, maybe with each other. You're supposed to critique. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that shortly, I think. And you just need to realize that the Canadian classroom, especially at that higher level, is considered very businesslike. And it's nothing personal. If you critique someone, you're critiquing their ideas, and that's all. And finally, I would say that, oh yes, these higher level classes are often in a seminar format, fewer students, maximum about 12, often smaller.
Thank you, Richard. So now that our audience has a clear idea, hopefully, about how the classes are conducted, we want to know more about actual specific, the roles that the students are expected to carry out. And as I said earlier, to be a good student, what are these specific things that you will suggest? I am again asking Richard for this, if you don't mind, Richard, like what is some of the main things that they should do to perform well in Canada if they decide to come here?
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, for sure. The most important thing, I started by saying that following instructions is so important. As I say, the classes are considered to be a kind of business-like atmosphere. We don't have a lot of time in class, so they really want to make the most of that time. With undergraduates, they will often be given very detailed instructions. They're not expected to totally understand how the classroom runs, so they'll be told exactly what to give as the final project, their final product in terms of term papers or any other kind of projects they're supposed to produce. Very often, even the process of making 1 draft, 2 drafts, 3 drafts will be given to them in a very detailed way by the professors. Now, the one thing I was saying about the syllabus is that even before, is that the syllabus will be given to you at the first class, but even if the professor never refers to it again, you're expected to know what's in it. So it's really important to listen on the first day of class when the professor goes through it. Because really, if you then come up and say, well, I didn't know this was due on this date, they'll just say, okay, page 3 of the syllabus. And so that's very important.
Okay. We are giving lots of details because our program is we are on time, under time constraint. We will just try to touch the next few points that I wanted to cover very briefly. So we got an idea how to be good, and of course, one thing I want to share before we switch is, compared to a Latin classroom, Latin American classroom, one thing I want you to know is that the punctuality I have noticed, and it's one thing I also learned being a Bangladeshi, someone from South Asia, punctuality is really important in Canadian context, especially for classrooms. So I want to move outside schools and academia and ask Richard and Laura about networking. Can you please tell us briefly how networking is important? First, to Richard, if you can just give a brief reply about the academic settings of networking, and why is networking important and how to do it well.
Sure. Networking is key to many professions in Canada. And so definitely for professional programs like MBAs, it's absolutely essential. And the programs will often include all the sorts of information about their networking partners on their websites. In academic settings too, their networking can be important, though I'd say that it depends a lot on the individual subject, what form it takes. In the humanities or the social sciences, like in a philosophy or a linguistics course, you're likely to find that it's mostly in the form of conferences. Yes. With your peers that you'll be networking. And okay, I just wanted to keep it brief, so that's all.
Is there anything you would like to add, Laura, to networking before we move on to the next questions I had?
Not really. It's just students need to get used to actually networking. Sometimes it's hard to start getting in touch with people and to know that it is very important in this context. It's just that.
Yes. If you are looking for a life outside your education, you should network, and group study. One of the things we wanted to talk about is important. So make sure to make friends with other people to study, not only to go out to your favorite hangout place, but also to study. So I know you will meet a lot of other Latino students, but you should try to make sure that you have a mixed group and you are studying outside the classroom too. We are at the last segment, which is very important. And I would like Richard to please take charge of elaborating for our students, how is everyday English, as we know it, colloquial English, different from the English we use in academia?
Sure.
Thank you, Richard.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, colloquial English is mostly person to person. And one of the things you need to realize is that people have just kind of very clear expectations of the way that other people talk in their culture, okay? Academic English, on the other hand, could be read by anyone in any culture. So some of these features that are on the slide make sense in that context. In colloquial English, people just say short sentences. Often they're gesturing with their hands. They don't need to say as much, right? In academic English, you need to have the logic right there, very well spelled out on the page. So you have logical connectors like because, and causal connectors like telling you about cause and effect, or compared to this, compared to that. Contractions. We don't use informalities in academic language the way we do in everyday speech. We'll say did not instead of didn't. Phrasal verbs, strangely enough, we don't find those to be formal enough for academic English, and therefore we prefer the single word equivalents. So for find out, it would be discover. For put off, it would be delay, right? Slang or casual expressions, we keep those out of English, academic English. Also, just because academics' work is supposed to be fact-based and unbiased, we try to keep opinionated language out. We don't say, oh, this was amazing, or a disgraceful example of such and such. We just avoid that. In colloquial English, people usually talk actively. They say, John did that. But in academic language, especially if you're describing your method, for example, you don't always want to say the team did this, the team did that, the team did this, and always it gets very, tedious. So therefore, they often use the passive voice instead.
Okay, so I feel like it is pretty clear if we look at the slide and your description, Richard. But how would you say academic English is important? The importance, can you elaborate on the importance of academic English when you like having the right level? So a lot of us are coming here, international students, and what is the right way to, what is the best way to make sure you have the right level, and why is it so important? Maybe not too much in detail because of the time constraint. Thank you.
Sorry, Lubaba, do you mean primarily the language piece or the
level of English when they're coming for a specific program as an international student? Why is it important? For example, they look for IELTS and TOEFL, and you need to have this specific score. And why are they so strict about that requirement?
Well, the one reason they're strict about it is that they need to have, first of all, students who are able to listen in class and are able to make sense of the material. It's just simply not fair to bring students over and then and not make sure that they have the skills to succeed. And so having the right, I cannot overstate the importance of this. Imagine what a rude shock it would be to come and find out that your first year or more has to be spent in language proficiency courses. And this can happen because many universities, if you check online, many universities have tests that you have to complete after you arrive. And therefore, if you fail the test, boom, you're put into a language proficiency stream, and your dream of immediately studying the subject you're so excited about is gone for about a year while you just build up your language. And so I don't like to scare people, but at the same time, it's very important to understand that you need the level of language proficiency that they'll require.
Thank you, Richard. It is crucial. We cannot really emphasize enough on that, but to give you a better idea, I would ask, please request Laura to give our audience an overview of how these different language levels work. And after that, we can move on to question answer session. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, so taking the idea from Richard, it is of the utmost importance that you are prepared language-wise to face these challenges of academic or professional life in Canada. So if you come to study at a university or college, be sure to check what the requirements are, of course. We have the example of the University of Toronto. So you're required to have an IELTS overall band of 6.5 with no band below 6. So we're talking about B2 level, okay? Almost like it would be better if you could just show that you're a C1 more than a B2, because it would be easier for you to express yourself, to understand, to communicate, to be part of the academic environment. So the way in which we can help as UNAM Canada is exactly to take it from wherever you are. So if you have completed a B1 or a B2 level, or you're almost done with your B2 level, we can take over and we can take you to where you need to be, which is a complete C1 level. And of course, if you want to keep on studying further, well, start your C2 experience and these courses that are the most advanced we have. So it's how we can help you to prepare before you're planning to come to Canada. So it's important to keep in mind that the language requirement is not something that you will build here. Oh, well, I'm talking with my friends and in class. No, you need to be prepared and you need to have that level already before arriving in Canada per se.
Thank you, Laura. I would request our audience to join for question answers now. So before we move on to our next segments, I'm going to switch the control. I think you will hear from Mario. He's going to organize how to receive the questions. And
yeah, thank you, Luaba. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have some questions from our students. We have a lot of questions. We have 16 questions right now, and they are coming. So we're going to start. So it says here first, if we're interested in pursuing a master's degree and we have already identified the university, what should the first contact with the university be like, or how can they make a good first impression to the university?
If Richard and Laura don't mind, I would like to take that question. So I think before you come for a program, you have to make sure you are doing the right research. First, what are you planning on doing? You have to make sure that you research elaborately. Every program offers different stream of studies. So for your master's, you can have a research, you can have theses, you can have all coursework. So those are the things you need to be aware of. So when you're writing a statement of interest, it's easier for you to understand and approach the paper correctly. The first thing that I did when I came here as a master's student 8 years ago was basically you have to find the right research option that matches your research and make liaison with the student services of that university. I think it really helps. They're very helpful, and familiarizing yourself will be an added benefit. Thank you, Mario.
Okay. This question is for Laura. Did your way of seeing the world change when you were in Canada?
Yes, absolutely. Like you can see the potential, like coming from a Latin American country, I could see the potential, like if people organize themselves and if governments permit it and we're not as corrupt and difficult as we are used to, we could be a great country. Like in Colombia, I know Mexico would be the same thing because we have the resources, not only in terms of people and like human resources, but also with natural resources, as Richard was mentioning. Only looking at fruits, like Canadian fruits do taste a little bit like bland if you compare it to tropical fruits. So Latin American countries should be taking advantage of all of these natural resources and how we could like get to be a superpower. Like we're called third world countries, but why? It's because we're not doing enough. So we need to work towards improving where we live and getting to be as great as Canada could, like, has built itself to be, let's say.
Okay, thank you. And we have another question. How can you make the first approach with young communities while you're in Canada? Just so this first contact to do networking. I don't know who wants to answer that.
Okay. So did you say first approach with young communities?
Yes, with the young people. I think they are referring to young students or people who is not from Mexico, and they can make this first contact.
Usually there are international students groups at the university, and that'll be a big benefit. Like if you just connect up with those student groups. That'll be an excellent way to go. Often also there are orientation sessions for new students in a program, and you can find out there might be a departmental group that will help you to just connect and make those connections with people.
Okay, thank you. There's another question. It says, what do you recommend to students to get relaxed about this speaking in English or French, but at the same time practice, just not getting frustrated about talking in different languages? Okay, Lubaba.
I would like to, because I've been talking a lot about this these days, to relax. No one, you are already speaking a second language, maybe third or fourth. You should already be proud of yourself. Don't be so nervous. Don't take extra pressure. We all have slips. If you even are speaking in Spanish and it's your mother tongue, if you're nervous, you make errors. So the first thing is don't make errors. Like, don't worry about making errors. And also, just relax and maybe listen to music in the language that you're learning to relax your nerves.
Okay, that's a good tip. Okay, for Richard, this is specifically for Richard. What do you love most about Canada?
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was just going to add something first to.
Okay, come on.
You can do it. Baba was saying, and that is that Canadians tend to be incredibly impressed by anyone who speaks a foreign language, like another language, with any degree of fluency, because many of us do not, to be honest. Even though we have two languages, we're bilingual in Canada officially. Many people didn't learn their French that well in school, or didn't, and so we're pretty impressed. Don't feel shy.
Perfect.
So your next question was?
And what do you love most about Canada?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, maybe I'll let Laura and Lubaba take this one mostly. But for me, it's my home, it's my country. I've lived abroad, and coming back to Canada has helped me to really, being abroad has helped me to really appreciate the way that people in Canada are. I'd say the key word is what Laura mentioned, tolerant, is how tolerant people are here and willing to look past differences. And I just think that's a lovely quality, and I love that about it.
I think that was intentional to you, because you're Canadian, so it's like, okay, what do you love most about your country? Even you're Canadian, no? Okay, this is another question. Could I survive in Canada despite having not enough English, just speaking Spanish? I don't know, Laura.
I think I'll go ahead and take that one. Yes, of course you can survive, you can get by only speaking Spanish if you just concentrate on joining a Latino community. But I would advise against that, because if you do that, it'll be 20 years of you living here and you'll never ever learn English or French. Like, the more people you meet and the more open you are to sharing experiences with people from different countries and different cultures will make you necessarily speak in English, because you are, unless you know Hindi or you know Greek and you know Italian, you're not going to find anything that is not like English to be able to communicate with them. So I would suggest just make friends from everywhere, and for sure you'll start speaking English with all of them, and then you'll see that you don't need to survive or get by. You will be speaking English in no time.
Okay. This is an interesting question. I don't know if we have an answer for that, but it says, how good or bad are taxes in Canada? Anybody?
One thing I will add, since I'm not born Canadian, expect to have value-added tax. So you will pay taxes after you have done your shopping. So be prepared for that. It often comes across shock for our Latin American students, that why is there tax after I've already purchased? They don't add tax to that. I will let others add details if they have.
Okay.
Well, the good thing is, you will pay taxes, and it might seem like, wow, taxes are so high, we pay a lot of money, but you actually see where those taxes are going. So that's good. Sometimes in other countries you pay taxes, but you never see it. And you still see like the cities in shambles and everything is horrible and dirty. But here in Canada, you actually see where the money is going. So that's good. You feel you paid for something.
Yeah, I would agree with what Laura said. I mean, I don't know anyone who loves paying taxes, but nevertheless, yeah, when you see the kinds of services you get as a result, you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I'm paying into something good.
Okay, thank you. This question is also, I like it because here in Mexico, we don't have like snowing. So it says like, how is a typical day in winter? Can you go out to do activities?
You definitely can go out for activities. Depends on the person. Are you motivated? Are you athletic? Like, it's a lot of factors. I personally didn't try a lot of winter sports, but I have a lot of friends who love trying different sports during winter. Day-to-day life is okay. We survive. You can manage, definitely. It may be hard at the beginning, or maybe it never gets easy, but it's not impossible to survive, definitely, and you get used to it. And you learn more how to survive the winter better. But if you want to have fun and activity, it definitely depends on the individual. There are many options, but you have to be okay with cold, and you have to be a little fit to enjoy most of them.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, keep in mind that yes, if you go outside, it's going to be cold, but inside houses or shopping centers or shops, it's going to be warm. So don't expect minus 25 degrees everywhere. It's just outside. Like if you're wearing jackets and like hats or gloves, you're going to be fine. And if you're actually enjoying a winter activity, you will be warm because you will be moving. Like if you're snowboarding, you're not going to stay still. Like playing in the snow is great. I love winter. It's my favorite season of the year, which is weird. People don't really like it, but I love it. And yes, it might be difficult at the beginning, but you'll get used to it. And it's just the right clothing, let's say.
Yes. Okay. It says here, how many students can we find in a classroom? Like there's like a typical number, like an average?
As I was saying before, it depends a lot on the field. Like some fields like accounting or some of the scientific fields, you could have an undergraduate classroom with, 100, more than 100 people in it, like a big gymnasium kind of classroom. But in many other fields, like the social sciences, economics, things like that, you would probably find a classroom of 30-ish people if you have a full classroom. That's at the undergraduate level. As I said, when you get to the higher levels, if you're taking a doctoral degree, you're likely to have a seminar room with 10, 8, 12 students.
Okay, and regarding also to this, what is the typical number of subjects per period? Because typical here in Mexico, we are like 5 or 6 subjects per period. So do you have a number?
It depends on your program, but it's usually around that. Like it's around that number. You can obviously just study part-time, so you will only be taking 2 or like tops 3. But if you're studying full-time, then it's gonna be like closer to 5.
Okay. It says here also another question. After studying in Canada, can I stay to work there, or do I have to get a permission? Do I have to get a license or something like that?
I'm going to take that one too. So it depends on immigration, like laws and requirements. If you come as a student, you can work a bit. Like you have 20 hours per week, and that's it. And if you want to stay, then you would need to look at getting a work permit or a permanent residence here in Canada. So it depends, and there are many requirements for that. I would encourage people to just Google Canadian requirements for permanent residence, and you'll see it, or for a work permit.
Okay, thank you. It says here another question. How could you give us some advices to improve our English skills additional to the classes? Because sometimes it's not easy to get a good academic level just studying in the classes.
maybe Richard and Laura would like to add some things after I'm done, but something very briefly. I'm learning I'm trying to learn Spanish, and I find Spanish music is helping me. So I think English music, if you can listen to the music with lyrics and like try to sing along with the song, it really helps your oral muscles to produce English sounds. And so with the fluency, pronunciation, and also with the confidence. So I suggest listening to English music with lyrics and get to the point where you don't have to look at the lyrics anymore, and you can have a few songs which you practice time to time, maybe before class, so that your English muscles are relaxed enough to join the class and perform better.
Okay, okay. Laura?
I just would like to add, keep your mind open. Don't close yourself exactly to, oh no, English is too difficult, I cannot do this, I don't like it. Just keep your mind open and try as hard as you can. Like you can switch, like change your chip and switch into English, like set your phone to be in English instead of Spanish. Try to go on the internet and join any of these 1,000 groups you can join where you can chat with people who also speak English. And these will make you just start to actually be more fluent. As Lubaba said, listen to music in English, watch movies. If you need subtitles, subtitle it in English. So you are also learning some words and vocabulary. It's just about practicing. Like if you live in an English like context, even if you're in Mexico, you will start speaking better English for sure.
And yeah, I mean, I was doing actually a class where we met with some students who were talking about how they had done this very thing and how they had gone from feeling kind of withdrawn, and then how they came to the point where, yeah, they suddenly were eager to speak English. And one of the things was exactly what Laura was saying, that people are, one of them, I remember, said that his landlady had told him, you know, you have to fall in love with English, right? You have to do things like you take your, as Laura was saying, your cell phone ringer and so forth. Do everything you can to try to fall in love with the language you want to learn. And then that kind of attitude will take you very far.
Thank you very much, Richard. We're going to the last question, and it's going to be like a small question with a small answer. Okay, it says for all of you, it says, what is, in your opinion, the best city to live in Canada? So we have first Lubaba.
Thank you. That's a great question. Ottawa is my second home outside Bangladesh. So Ottawa, for me, I'm biased. I came here as a student. I tried Toronto and Montreal. It's just a bit too busy for my taste. Those are beautiful cities, but I love Ottawa, and it's just the right kind of quiet for my style. Thank you.
Okay, Laura?
I would say it depends on your taste. Like if you come from a big city, maybe you need something that's like a big city. So Toronto would be awesome. And Ottawa's not as big, but obviously being a smaller city, you get most of its advantages. You don't have traffic, like it's not as congested. You don't have as many crowds and like tons of people around. So it depends on your taste. You can also end up living in a very small city with 100,000 inhabitants. That's awesome if you like a peaceful life. But of course, there won't be any nightlife and nightclubs and things open 24 hours. Of course not. It depends on what you want and what you like.
Okay, Richard?
I agree with both Lubaba and Laura. For Lubaba, one of the nice things about Ottawa is that it is the national capital region, right? So even though it's a relatively small city, not much over 1 million, maybe 1.5 million people, it has a lot more than a lot of similar sized cities would have. Museums, art galleries, all kinds of things available. On the other hand, yeah, if you're used to a big city and you like the pace of a big city, then Vancouver, Toronto, something like that is probably going to be more your speed.
Okay, thank you, Richard. And also Gerardo wants to answer this question.
Yes, thank you, Mario. And I also want to answer this question because, in fact, we all four are Canadians, even though only Richard is the only one who was born, actually born in Canada. We're all Canadians, and that also reflects, the multiculturalism that my colleagues were referring to before. And just to add to that very interesting question, I'll just, I would like to say something about something that was left out by all three of them. And I completely understand why, because they all live in Ontario, in Ottawa. The other aspect I really enjoy about Ottawa-Gatineau is that you have in the same urban area the opportunity of actually experimenting those two realities that are part of Canada, the English-speaking side and the French-speaking side. Actually, UNAM Canada is located in the French side of Canada, in the province of Quebec, in the city of Gatineau. And Ottawa-Gatineau is the national capital region. And I would like to finish my commentary by saying and inviting all students to please take advantage of the fact that UNAM has a school in Canada. And I hope you're able, while you are UNAM students, I hope you're able to experience and to get to know UNAM Canada. So please visit us and trust us in helping you successfully perform in a Canadian academic context. So thank you again for your attention and your presence today.
Thank you very much. And we're going to broadcast a small acknowledgement that we have as a faculty. Podemos transmitir, por favor, el de conocimiento, mi estimado Danilo. And this is for all of you, Lubaba, Laura, and Richard. This is the acknowledgement of our faculty to you for being here. I'm going to read it. Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, la Facultad de Contaduría y Administración, otorga el presente acknowledgement. I'm going to do it in English so you can understand it. For your outstanding participation as a speaker at the Master Conference, Personal and Business Internationalization, given on September 20, 2021, within the framework of the first Facultad de Contaduría y Administración UNAM International Festival. Our director is signing this acknowledgement, and we want to thank you really a lot. Thank you also, Gerardo, and to UNAM Canada, because without you, this is impossible. And I hope you have enjoyed it, and see you in the next activities. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. It's a big pleasure. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye and good day.